Hi, my name is Delaney Donahue, and Michael Oberschneider has a PhD in expert in psychology. He states on October 31st, 2017, in the Blue Ridge Leader in London Today, that he frequently works with athletes and that he thinks that there is advantages to sports and also a disadvantage to sports. Many kids quit sports because it's mentally and physically draining. Sports can be harmful in a physical and mental way. First, I will talk about how it can affect the kids physically. Second, I will talk about how it affects the kids mentally. And finally, I will talk about how it affects the kids and the parents. First, let's begin by talking about how it can affect the kids physically. Sports can be very, very, very time-consuming. It's harder and harder to find free time for student athletes. It's hard to fit homework, friends, family, and sports in the same schedule. It's also hard for athletes to be in extracurricular activities because when sports teams meet, practice, and play games, it's right after school, and that's when extracurricular activities meet as well. For an athlete, it's also unavoidable to be injured. Contact sports like football and hockey are more prone to injuries. There's also overuse injuries. That's meaning using the same muscles over and over again. This happens a lot in a one-sport athlete that plays year-round. Now that I've talked about how it affects the kids physically, now we will talk about how it affects the kids mentally. Jennifer O'Connell, a writer for the Irish Times, states on May 20th, 2017, that some competition is good to keep the kids focused, but too much competition can be harmful to the kid's mind. Especially when you start with better competition, the less athletic kids feel like they let their team down because when they're in tight situations, when it's a win or lose situation, they feel like they let their team down because they lost the situation or they didn't do as well as the best player or even the average player. Some kids can deal with the pressure and giving 110% effort every single day, but some kids can't deal with that. Some kids can't deal with giving 110% every single day and dealing with all the pressure. This could lead to bigger problems in the future like anxiety, depression, eating disorders, alcohol abuse, and substance abuse. Now that I've talked about how it affects the kids mentally, we will now talk about how it affects the parents and the kids. Sports are very expensive. Parents have to pay for fees, equipment, travel, and food, and much more. 10% of your parents' income go to sports. $1,000 to $20,000 go to sports annually. Now, let me say that again. $1,000 to $20,000 go to sports annually. Marika Lindholm has a PhD in studies psychology. She states on the Psychology Today on May 5th, 2017, that most parents think that their kids are destined to be D1 athletes, when in reality, not many kids become D1 athletes. Not many kids become D2 or D3 athletes. So this puts an image in their mind that they feel like they can go D1, D2, D3, and they can't. And then once they can't do that, or they don't fill that dream, they feel like they let their friends, their family, their coaches, their school, and especially themselves down. This can cause a strain on your relationship with the parents and the kids. Now that I've explained first how kids can be affected physically. Second, I explained how kids can be affected mentally. And finally, I explained how it can strain the relationship and the kids. Sports can be harmful in a physical and mental way. Now I hope you learned that. Now I hope you have a better understanding on how sports can affect the minds and bodies of athletes.
1, 2, 3.